Welcome, lovely one, to the Meant for More podcast. My name's Lisa Clifford, and I am building the world's most empowering Meant for More movement, leading millions of heart-led purpose seekers from feeling insignificant to invincible. So I truly hope you enjoy this next episode. And welcome Fotoula Adrimi, the director of ICE's School of Holistic Health. Fotoula is a real light in the world. Her students go on to be shamanic practitioners themselves, doing their magic, their work in their communities. Fotoula is an author and her work is truly authentic. She is one of life's light workers. I hope you enjoy this episode. And Fotoula, I would love to start with my first question, which is, can you think of a time where you've had that stirring or that ache or that just a knowing that you're meant for more, that in some way in your life you are playing smaller or not living up to your potential? Do you have a story or an experience you can share with us?
So I do, and thank you very much, dear Lisa, for this opportunity to share this story. So my path was very conventional until I was 30. So at that time, I used to live very much in my mind, trying to make sense of life because I am a very practical person. I was a town planner and it was brick and mortar and a lot of creativity too, because I used to work in regeneration, which means to make places, create places for people and create places for people to enjoy life through design. And through trees and through beautiful expressions of life. So this is where I used to work. And I wasn't very much inspired by it. But then again, I used to live in my mind. And always before, when I was a child, I was in my heart. And in my heart I was a person with so much compassion, understanding, and could really feel what other people were feeling, why they were behaving in a particular way. What was it that they were suffering from? And I would say I was an empath. But at the same time, I wasn't taking people's problems with me. I wasn't carrying the people. I wasn't getting sick like other people can get sick by thinking of others. But I could see a bigger picture and a bigger potential in people. And I was the one that people would find me and talk to me about their dreams. And I was saying, what are you doing here? What are you doing? There's so much potential in your life. But I was living in my mind and not in my heart and my connection. So when I was 30, I had a big awakening experience where I really relived through knowledge that I had in past lives. Now, people may think that's all rubbish and there are no past lives, but in my world, past lives really exist because I knew things that you could not really have thought about yourself or read them in the book. I just knew them so intuitively and so much in my heart. And what I felt was I was out of alignment with where I needed to be in my life. So I found my path again that led me more and more to the person that I truly am, without all the masks and without all the suits and the professionalism and the big pieces of paper on the wall that says, this is the person you are because you have all these degrees and all these awards and all of these things. They didn't matter anymore. What matters is to find again Fotoula and make me happy. And this is one of the things that I really feel is so important. We try and find happiness because we think we need to make ourselves safe. So we have to have our home, we have to have our job, we have to have our pension, we have to have all these things. And we think this is what happiness is. And then we look for ourselves after that. But actually, what we think is just start with ourselves. And the other things will come because we will make ourselves happy. We will feel a different person, and we will have the people around us who believe in us, the friendships that are really rewarding, a life that we really enjoy living. And the rest won't be as important anymore because in the core, we have found the diamond and we keep it shining and polishing it day by day. So this is what I would like to share. Also would like to share that a big wake-up call for me was when I was in my town planning job, and I could see all these people coming to the office and feeling just, that's another day. I can't wait to get home. And I once asked my colleagues, and my colleagues was the same age as me, a young, young professional. And I said, why are you here if you don't like being here? And this person said, because this job has such a good pension. It was a local authority job, a safe job. So you could do this for life. And he said, at the end, you get, the exit card, you come out of the jail with a good pension. And I thought, I don't want to spend another 35 years in jail. I want to come out of that now. And the jail I came out of was not really my job, was my mind. It was my mind. And it takes such a lot of courage and dedication, because it doesn't happen automatically. People say sometimes, all I need to do is do what you did. Just leave my job and I'll be fine and the universe will provide everything. And what they don't know is that it takes so much effort day by day to come into that place of connection with your heart, to open yourself to yourself, to find the shadow, to heal the shadow, to find the love for the world, to find the compassion for others, no matter what they do, and to keep understanding. Yes, as humanity right now, we're carrying so much shadow, so many wounds, and there is a way to heal, and that is through love. And that's what I have been doing.
And so when you go back to being the town planner, and what was the step you took? What was the feeling that you had that made you take such a big step, and what was the step that you took? Because I'm just thinking about people that are in a job right now, and it's what they've known, it's what they've worked for, it's what they've studied for, it's what they've put their blood, sweat and tears into, made compromises for, made sacrifices for this job, and then they've got it, and somewhere inside they know that it's no longer fulfilling them. It may have fulfilled them, it may have given them significance, certainty, growth, an opportunity to prove who they are to themselves. But then it gets to a point where perhaps somebody might be thinking, it's too frightening, or it's too uncertain, too unfamiliar, too uncomfortable to consider another step. What was going through your mind, and how did you feel, and what step did you take?
It was very uncomfortable. It was very frightening. It was all the things that you said. And my mother said to me, all of these things. You've studied, you've done a degree, a postgraduate, a master's degree on town planning. You won all these awards. Why on earth are you doing this? You have a very good job that gives you satisfaction and everything. And it was very frightening because it's a huge step into the unknown. And to follow your heart is very frightening because the mind will say exactly all the things that you said. The programming of the planet that keeps us stuck says all these things, repeats all these things that we have heard from other people. And if you look around the planet, you will see so many people like myself, as I was at the time, living out the programming of the planet. And we're living in a numb state because we're not living our light and our life's purpose, what we're here to do. So it's a huge step. It's a huge step to give up your job. And what I did, I knew after I stepped into my spiritual path and I start to remember my past lives, I start to feel the enlightened spirits that had been with me, not just in this lifetime, but in other lifetimes as well, that I had seen as a child. I start to feel more and more myself, and I just knew I have to go. So in the beginning, what I did was I stepped into my path. I worked, I learned, I relearned what I knew. I studied with wonderful people like Sandra Ingerman in the States.
Mm.
I thought no matter what, I need to follow my path. It was a huge thirst. So, and then I
Mm.
started working, part time, sort of during the weekends and evenings. So I worked for my my job there, in the council. I worked for that during the week. And then in the evenings, I don't know how I had the energy. I was
You were
teaching.
younger.
I was younger, yes. I did that for 6 years. And then the universe, my guides were telling me, you have to leave your job, because once you leave and you are out of that environment, you will be able to grow so much more. And that was true. That was true. They said, don't go into fear. Don't go into ego. Don't go into pride. Just go into your heart deeper and deeper, and you will be fine. So it took a lot. And then the universe came as, a help came, because at that time in my job, there was a lot of financial strife. So the council was offering us sabbaticals to go take 6 months off, unpaid leave. And I thought, I'm doing that.
Unpaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unpaid leave for 6 months and see how it's going to go. So I took this unpaid leave for 6 months. And the next thing, I was working, I was running retreats. There were wonderful people coming to join me. And wow, it was all working so well. So I thought, that's amazing. I will then resign from my job. And I resigned. I took that big step. I let the job go. And then everything stopped. All my retreats stopped. There was maybe one or two people. I always had clients one to one. That was just not a problem. And I said, what happened now? I've given up my job. And what I hoped for is like went. And then the spirit said to me, you have to travel. You have to go. You have to really go and find the people who will help you relearn more and deeper what you knew, so you can really help others, so you can really teach others, you can really become the heart. And that was tough, because that was a big sacrifice. So I sold my house and used all the proceedings to go and travel and do all that. And I went and really did it. And one of the places that really drew me from childhood was Egypt, because there is so much wisdom and light waiting for us in Egypt. And people sometimes go there and feel it. They feel there is something here, but they don't know what is there. So etherically, when we look the pyramids, when we go into the temples, etherically, there is another temple made of light above it or around it. And that temple is open. So I felt I had such a huge connection there and huge learnings that came. And then I just remembered how was my life when I lived what it would call the golden times of Egypt. And during that time, that in other traditions in Sanskrit is called Shakti, the Shakti time is the Satya time. The Satya time was very much the time when humanity was in their heart. And when we are in our heart, we are so powerful. We can create anything we want, because we create with our heart and not the ego. If we try to create with ego, that's when we go wrong. So many times people say, I have an intention, and yes, I clear the path and everything. And sometimes the intention manifests, and sometimes it goes nowhere, because it's the ego involved. It's the ego who needs this. This comes from the heart, means I am here as part of the whole of the human tribe, the whole of the universe, and I create in balance for the highest good. And that's what I remembered. And that's how I live my life.
Wonderful. I just want to just go back a little bit to the point when you were leaving. Was it without doubt? Did you just leave and have absolutely no doubts about it? Or were the doubts present? And what were the doubts and how did you overcome them?
So I had huge doubts, my butterflies in my stomach and everything. I remember sitting there writing that letter of resignation, and my God, I was feeling all these doubts, but there was a force inside me that said, claim your life. and claim your life. It doesn't matter if you're making a mistake or not. You can always go back. People think sometimes saying, oh, if I leave that job, I will never get another one. And I've seen that that's just a lie of the mind. So many times people will find another job. So I thought, no, just go for it. Go for it. And this voice about being authentic to myself and what I was here to offer as this person at this time in the world that we live right now had so much value. And I felt I can't just keep myself back living a conventional life out of fear. And that fear is huge because it's the fear of the ancestors who maybe had gone through so much hardship, who needed that stability and went through war and everything and famines and all of that. So all that ancestral baggage is there for so many of us, thinking, I will be homeless, I won't be able to manage, I will be hungry. All of these things that we have not lived through, but the ancestors have, and they have passed down to us, are there. So all this, there was huge fear. There was huge fear. So we have to choose fear or trust. Do I choose what I saw as the death? If I stayed in that job, I would have been spiritually dead. That's how I felt. I'm living a life where I'm earning money, which is great, but at the same time, all I'm doing is going to work, eating, sleeping, going out with my friends. That's nice. But, drinking, whatever. And that was for me a life that I was living as if I was half dead.
And I think that's the challenge, isn't it? That we know we've repeated that day over and over and over and over again. So there's some certainty with that. And yet with it is if we know we've got more purpose, more value to give, more to explore, and yet we don't explore it, then I completely agree with you. It is that feeling of the soul's death. And the one thing I remember when I was and I was so proud of my career and how far I'd got, and it's exactly what I said at the beginning. I'd put everything I've got into it. I'd worked so hard. All my goals were around my work. All my friendships were people that I worked with. My work was my life. It was my priority. It was what I dreamt of morning, noon, and night. But there was still a part of me that thought of wanting to be on TV, wanting to be on the radio, wanting to write a book, wanting to work with people, wanting to be a speaker. And yet my current reality feared all of those things. But to abandon them felt like abandoning myself, even though I didn't know what I'd write a book about, even though I didn't know what I'd speak about on stage, even though I've got no idea what purpose I'd be on the TV for or the radio. I still had these glimpses, these almost threads connecting with that aspect of me in the future. But the fear was massive and the doubt was massive. And it took one single question to unlock what would it look like. And then once I'd glimpsed into that, and like you say, you had your vision, your insight, your knowing, your remembering. And once I'd glimpsed it, to abandon it, ignore it, suppress it, it felt like I was, what's the word? Well, doing all of those things to myself, which of course it is, chickening out, just completely chickening out and thinking, oh, that requires so much consciousness. Because when you shift from your career or a relationship or a friendship or a home or a way of living, it requires our mind to be awake, alert, and it's tiring to be that awake, isn't it? And taking that leap to go for it takes courage, but taking that courage is much better than living with the awareness that we've abandoned ourselves, with the awareness that inside something of us is slowly dying because it's not being fed or brought to the light. It's a step. I love the way that you phrase it. It's a step that you can't afford not to take because we're here to live, aren't we? And the slow death of the soul isn't living. Just share, Fotoula, what it is that you do in your career, your vocation, your mission, your vision, your purpose now. I think I've covered all the words that would explain. what some might call a job.
So my job is very, very different, and it's not just a job; it's really a calling of the soul.
Yeah.
And I believe I came here for more. And what this more is to be a spiritual teacher that helps people awaken, through their heart, and helps people to find exactly that diamond within and bring it out in the world, but bring it out with so much integrity, with so much commitment, and with so much love. So it can really serve, because if we bring it out through the mind, we can say, oh yes, I'm awakened, I can see the spirits, and I'm psychic, or all of those stories, or I've written lots of spiritual books and all of that. But if we are in our mind, we are in the mental state. We need to move to the spiritual state. And the spiritual state is the connection with the infinite part of us. That we are living here as this enlightened spirit. So what I do is I teach the ancient Egyptian mystery school, which is what I remembered and then studied and remembered more. And now I have written a book that is going to be available in July 2025.
Wonderful. What's it
Yeah,
called?
it's called The Sacred Mysticism of Egypt. And it really talks about this process that we've talked about, but through the myths and legends and the spiritual practices that people did at that time, of the golden time of Egypt in the temples. And something that may be relevant for our talk is that they used to practice these mysteries of death and rebirth. And they said that like I did, you walk in this life worried about, the next paycheck and the pension and whatever they had then, of course. And then they would put themselves, they would think, I'm like Osiris. And Osiris was dismembered, was cut in 14 pieces by his brother, who was the jealous brother, the ego brother, you could say the ego mind, was cut and dismembered. And then through the love, through the magic, through the power of the feminine, of the heart, was put back together again. So they would be thinking, okay, I'm dismembering my old life in some way. That life has served me, but it also has cut me into so many pieces, because I'm not the person I came here to be. I've been cut, I've been dismembered. And then I'm put back again, and I'm reinventing myself, but actually I'm coming back to be the person I'm meant here to be. So all these myths and stories and ceremonies are talking about the human journey, but they're giving us a deeper understanding of what is the cycle of life that we go through. Because there are no accidents. The fact that you in the hotels and the environment as a manager, and all of that, now you bring that into your life. And the same with me, all these bricks and mortar and the way of organizing life, I am bringing all that wisdom too in this life, but with the essence of my soul. So it's very different. And so I teach these ancient mysteries. I teach shamanism. I've trained as a shamanic teacher with Sandra Ingerman. I've studied with wonderful indigenous shamans in Nepal, in North America, in different places. So it's just been wonderful. I also carry a shamanic lineage from my family. So in Greece, so in the mountains of Greece, I'm the first female to be carrying this lineage, because it was always a male lineage. And I also bring teachings that were given to me by enlightened spirits that we practice to transform people's lives, to heal our mind, to heal our body, to heal our conditioning, to bring ourselves back into balance and access our inner power. So this is what I do. So I do shamanic healing for people, a process
Well,
called, yeah.
can I just ask about shamanism? Can you just explain to our listeners and our viewers? Imagine that somebody has never heard the word before, although I'm sure you have. But can you just share a little insight of what is shamanism and what is the shamanic healing? Who would have it? and how would they have it? So
Yeah,
imagine that somebody has never even heard the word before.
so a shaman, you would say traditionally, is a healer who works with spirits, who works with enlightened spirits. And these spirits come and almost like overshadow, we say, they come into the consciousness of the shaman and become one with the shaman and direct the shaman to the different realities. Like we believe there is this reality here, but there are also other parallel realities, other worlds, if you like. Parallel universes is a term that people use nowadays, that exist, that where there is. Bless
Bless
you, bless you,
me. I
bless
was
you.
trying to hold it back, sorry. Parallel universes, I'm with you.
Parallel universes that exist around our Earth and around our physical cosmos. There are also places in the past and future. So the shaman would try and find the person's light that has been switched off, or how dissociated. We say part of us has dissociated. In shamanism, we say we have lost part of our soul, been frozen in the past. So a shaman would go and find this light, these parts of us that have dissociated, have been numbed by life, and bring them back to us now so we can be whole. A shaman would also look into our body and see that we have adopted energies of the world that are not ours. Sometimes we have thoughts and we think, how could I think this thought? This is not my thought. As we become more and more aware, or meditate and do spiritual practice, we realize, actually, I'm absorbing thoughts of this psychic soup that is around us on the earth right now. And a lot of these are unskillful thoughts. So a shaman would clear the energies that do not belong to us, that we carry in our body, and clear attachments to other people, and clear obstacles that might be in our life that they can go. They're not important for our path, but they were created because we gave our power away to others. So sometimes when we are people pleasers, we try to keep the peace and we give our power to somebody else, then what we create is stagnation, and then we can't move forward.
Yeah. And what would somebody's symptoms be that would help them identify that they needed a shamanic healing or session or conversation? What might somebody be going through? I mean, I know it's like saying, what might you go to the doctor for? I'm guessing it might be, I think the answer could be as big as that, but
So
typically, how would somebody know that what's blocking them is actually something spiritual rather than a negative thought?
yeah, so sometimes when people usually say to me, I've never felt whole again since, like they've experienced, let's say, unending grief for years. They've lost a family member, and of course we will have grief. But if it's like 10 years that I've been grieving and I've never been well since that death, then it might be that we gave our soul to that person who died because we love them so much, or they
How do
took.
we do that though? Hang on. Because I hear what you're saying and it makes sense. But if somebody's listening, they might be thinking, well, I didn't give my soul. And of course we don't.
No.
So how might we unintentionally or even intentionally give our soul to someone that's passed, for example?
So when we love so much that we think that person cannot exist without me, they really need me there.
So the person that's passed over, that we might think that they can't exist on the other side without me.
That
Is that what you're saying?
love, yeah, or I love them so much, I think I need to care for them still somehow. Or I hold guilt because I haven't done enough. There can be many situations, many scenarios, but it's like when you lose part of you, you feel as if you live life without joy. That is the main symptom. It's like you live life as an automaton that you feel numb. You can't feel the joy. You feel that life is such a mess. And even though life is okay, on the outside, You feel, okay, I've got what I need. I've got, friends, family, home, job, and everything, but I can't feel any joy. That is because maybe part of you has been lost and you feel so empty inside. So that feeling of emptiness is a sign of soul loss.
Right.
We say in
Right.
shamanism anyway, we
Yeah.
say that
Yeah.
that's a sign of soul
Well,
loss.
there's a funny saying that people usually say to somebody as an insult, which is, "Oh, you're so full of yourself." And I love that saying because I think, yeah, I hope I'm full of myself. I hope I'm full of me because I don't want to be full of anybody else, but I want to be fully in my expression, fully in my thinking, conscious. Now, I know sometimes they might be saying that towards people who are bragging because they're excited or proud of something or celebrating. But I often think that those that say it, in some way, it's an indicator that they're not feeling quite so full within themselves as well. Is that a fair thing to say, or is it just a perspective?
I think that's a wonderful perspective. It's a wonderful perspective. And it's always to see what makes somebody say you're so full of yourself. Because sometimes the person who just shares, their experience with enthusiasm is such a beautiful thing. And what society has created is that sense of jealousy and envy. And that comment makes somebody feel small again. If I say, oh, I make you small. So the person then can makes themselves feel small so they don't offend. And that
Well,
is the power game.
and the other thing that happens is that, I mean, I know there are some people out there that occupy way more airspace and don't give other people an opportunity to participate or to be seen in their light. I mean, I have known of people like that. And I think then sometimes that can make other people feel less than or less important, or it doesn't feel balanced. And then it can provoke that kind of reflection. But I also think that when you see someone in your social circle or on your Facebook feed or in your community who's doing really well, sometimes I feel like it can instigate within the observer, if you like, that feeling of not enoughness. And I often think that feeling is not about that other person. It's about me. It's about me. It's a little invitation to know you are meant for more. And that person's just triggered you into knowing that you're not doing enough. You're not being in your potential. You're not showing up enough. You're not doing the things for yourself that bring out the best in you. Sorry. And so I think that kind of envy is great, or jealousy is great as a signpost back to yourself rather than externally. And I'm guessing your work helps people get that clarity over what is this showing me. I've had these stirrings of jealousy or envy or having some resentment towards other people that are flying high. What's that telling me? Your work, I'm guessing, can help them see their own path rather than getting hung up about what other people are doing. That stirring feeling has really been an invitation back towards the self to look at their own. Oh, I keep knocking my microphone, sorry. Their own, what is my path? And let me get involved in that and line myself up with that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Lisa. And for many years, I had studied Bon Buddhism, which is Yunrung Bon is called. It's an amazing tradition, 18,000 years old
What's
tradition
it
of
called
Tibet.
again?
It's called Yunrung Bon Buddhism. So it's a
Bone
Buddhism
or bond?
Bon.
Bon. Okay, yeah, tell me more.
So in this tradition, they identify jealousy and envy as a poison, that you poison yourself. Actually, when you say you're too full of yourself or you're feeling, this jealousy, you're actually poisoning yourself with that. And at the same time, you're sending this negative energy to the other person instead of feeling the positive, good energy. And if you changed it, if you, instead of feeling that poison, swallowing that poison of jealousy, if you could transform it, which is where the shamanic path comes in and says, everything is energy. You have the power through your heart to transform these poisons, and you can bring them into light and offer them to the earth, offer them to the other person, offer them to yourself as light. So there are practices that we do to really see those poisons. And every day of our life, okay, I felt jealous here. Maybe I'm in that poison. I'm in my mind, the conditioned mind, the programming that says there can only be one person who does well and all the competition. And what we do then is we take those thoughts, those energies, and we transform them into something beautiful and a blessing rather than an arrow. So that's what we do, and that's how we change our lives. You know, this is how we should live our lives. I just see everybody's success and celebrate with them and celebrate ourselves. But it is a journey, and every day we have that choice to walk the journey.
It is a journey. I think that quite often people are awakened to their own goals when they see people around them living goals that they thought, hang on, that's my dream, that's my life I'm seeing them live. And then sometimes some resentment can build. And I think the moment that you have a feeling that's got your attention, I think then to use it, if we can't get to a shamanic practitioner, teacher, healer, to then use that awakening to see it as an awakening to in on ourselves of, well, what is it that I want? What does that look like? And to start that conversation. I think the first time I ever heard that saying that you've just said, that resentment, envy and jealousy is poison, was from Eddie Izzard. I think I saw him on a chat show saying envy and jealousy is like drinking poison, or even anger, I think, and hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. And I think it's about catching those internal feelings, those observations, those kind of perspectives that we're choosing to see, catching them before they become poisonous. They can just be that kind of alertness to, I'm meant for more, and now I'm seeing somebody else living their life fully and happily and going for dreams that they've once had. What would you say is a misconception about spiritual healing?
Well, there are a lot of misconceptions, especially from people who have never experienced it. So a lot of people dismiss it and say it's all rubbish, So as I said, I was a town planner, very practical person. And there are a lot of other people who do it who are, I've seen nurses and doctors come to me and all sorts of people from all walks of life, and really enjoy the spiritual healing. So what happens during the spiritual healing? You feel like enveloped in love. That's the first thing, and you feel it so deeply. If you open up to it, you can feel it so deeply. Even some people, I remember some older people that I have worked with, that they said they never felt such care and love before. And to be held and to be seen as a light, to be seen in your divine light, to be accepted, wherever you are, and to help somebody help you make sense of your own journey is a huge thing. It's a huge thing. So spiritual healing can help you see yourself and help you heal that disconnection that you have with yourself, and can have a lot of other benefits. Some people say, okay, I feel, more relaxed than I've ever felt. I feel really good. I feel that, before I had done all these different things to try and feel good about myself. Some people had a lot of mental issues, anxiety, mental illness, and everything. They have themselves found the courage to heal themselves, to really heal themselves. Because people say, is it who does the healing? Is it you? Is it the spirits? And I say, it's you. It's your light. So because once you get in touch with who you are and your light, you can work with that. And so I say to them, it's your divine light. That's what healed you. And people have experienced all sorts of different healings. But of course, we can't say anything because we, in UK legislation, we can say only spiritual healing is for relaxation purposes.
Right.
I stick with that.
Yeah.
But and anything else that happens is a blessing. As it's a Christmas present. One of my Native American teachers said it's just a Christmas present. Just if you receive it, it's amazing. Enjoy.
Yeah. Speaking of Christmas presents, so your book that's coming out in July, tell me a tiny bit about that, and when's it available? Well, it's available in July, but can people get hold of it earlier, maybe as a Christmas present? So yeah, can you share a bit about your book? It's very exciting.
I'm so excited because the book is actually available out for pre-order right now. So
Wow.
you can go and pre-order it from in the UK, and it will be soon also available in the States and in other places in Europe, etc. But at the moment, it's available to pre-order in the UK, and it really helps. You can
What
pre-order it.
and where?
So it's available in most bookstores in the UK. You can get it from Waterstones, from Amazon, from other bookstores. It's there in the UK. And if you do pre-order it now, it's a great help for people like myself who write esoteric books, because we don't have a huge audience, and these pre-orders make a huge difference. So if you would like to read the book at some point, if you are intrigued and want to find out more about the sacred mysticism of Egypt, and there are personal stories that I remembered, beautiful insights and real pearls of wisdom there, and practices and myths, and you will love it. It really is my lifetime work, because this book just came out. It really came out from a deeper place. Yeah.
So if somebody's thinking about a Christmas present that they actually get in July, they get the gift of the idea now, but actually a Christmas present that lands in July, I think is brilliant. They can order it now, and we'll have an online link in the description box that you can go and pre-order from. Fotoula, in closing, well, first of all, congratulations. Because
Thank you.
this is your second or third book.
This is the second book. Yes, this is the
So you
second
have
book.
another book. What's the other book called?
So the other book is called The Golden Book of Wisdom, Ancient Spirituality and Shamanism for Modern Life.
Right, so a nice short, catchy title.
I know.
But it says exactly what it is, and that's available to buy now, isn't it?
Yes, you can buy now this book on Kindle or paperback. This is available. It was published in 2018 and is a really good book too. And it's about life from a shamanic perspective, and also how to practice a bit of shamanism as well. Because I'm saying a bit of shamanism because shamanism is something you need to kind of learn through a transmission from person to person, but the book will get you there as well to some degree, and may open the doors wide enough for you to start getting the glimpses and the practices and the understanding and the wisdom of how shamanism can be brought into your life, and what our life journey means from that perspective. Soul loss, as you said, soul retrieval is part of that. The what is to be ill, and what is that from a shamanic perspective, healing, what is death, what is life purpose. All of these questions are there in the book. It's a really big book. Yeah.
Yes. And just in closing, Fotoula, then, what would your tip, wisdom, advice be to anybody that is living a life that they feel like they've either outgrown or they know that they're meant for more? What would you share with them that would just help support them in this really pivotal time for them?
I think one of the biggest gifts that I was able to access during that time was to be honest with myself, because the mind can make all sorts of excuses and say, it will be okay, or things, will turn out okay, etc. Or just continue living in the fantasy that, somehow things are going to happen by themselves. I had to be really honest. And through honesty came self-awareness, seeing also the parts of myself that I didn't like, and the parts of myself that I needed help with. And that is another big thing, to ask for help. That if you are struggling, if you're in that place where you want to make a huge move for yourself, and be honest, what is your dream and where do you need help from and what do you need to do? Take action. So in the spiritual side, we say, okay, I'm a human being, I'm not a human doing, but we need both. We need both doing and being. So be that person that is light and beautiful heart, but also bring it to the world, because the world has called you here to live a physical life.
Yes. So first thing you would say is have the courage to be honest with yourself, rather than reassuring yourself that your current life is all right. I mean, it probably is all right, but when you're not fulfilling your potential, and that's a really hard experience to consciously be in, is one of lack of fulfillment of potential. Fotoula, I'm so grateful for all the energy, wisdom, expertise that you have given us today in our wee show. And I hope for those of you listening and watching that you probably have to go back and re-watch some of it for it to sink in, because Fotoula has given us so many teachings and so much awareness at speed, that this I imagine will be an episode that you will learn something different each time you come back, listen to it or watch it. So from my heart to yours, Fotoula, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you for the amazing work that you do to bring us all here, all as different people, and to talk of our experience, because that's how we help each other and how we lift each other up. So thank you so much, because it's such a huge job, and it's not a job, it's an act of service. So thank you.
I love it. I feel like I'm getting an hour's education every time I chat to somebody. It's brilliant. I've just created my own university through this podcast series. Thank you, darling.
I love it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you would like to be involved in the Meant for More movement, then please drop me a line at lisa@lisaclifford.co.uk. Whether that's you're interested in being on the podcast, taking part in any of the trainings, or would just love to know how you can help empower others, then let's have a conversation. Thank you for listening, and we'll connect again very soon.